All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a bit since I've done some round footage, but I'm out here doing a practice round for the Southside Smackdown Cup this year. We play one round here at the University of South Alabama, and then one round at Langley Municipal Park. Not much has changed there, but some things have kind of been tweaked here, I think, since the last time I played here, so I thought I would kind of put the practice round out for this one. I've already played a few in preparation for the event, but doing a couple of final ones here this week before the event this weekend. And so, yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. We're at hole one. It's just about 350 feet, kind of dead straight ahead, and a little bit uphill, so it plays a little longer than 350, maybe closer to 360 or so. Trying to get something center fairway for an easy approach for par. So that's all I'm really looking for. So could go fairway driver probably, but I might try to attack with distance driver and try to get myself a circle 2 putt depending on the wind on tournament day. So we'll throw a couple of different ones here to kick it off. I'm turning a little more than I thought it would, but in a good position to get up and down. Try a couple of faster shots. That's a little more aggressive. That might give me like a long putt, but again, just looking for par. All right, so all my shots kind of landed around this general area, probably like, I don't know, let's see, 80 feet short of the basket, it looks like. But the one I actually went aggressive on, the distance driver, that one actually got pretty close to pin high, but it is off left a good bit, so that's still probably like a 60-footer from the left side of the green. But all of them are still in this wide open space, so again, as long as you can just get somewhere out here, you know, get somewhere 100 feet or less from the pin, it's a pretty easy approach shot to just grab your 3, which is all I really want. A little bid. All right, so I threw this one about 330 feet off the tee. I'm about 50 feet from the basket, off to the left. So if I get aggressive, I can give myself maybe a little chance at a circle 2 putt, but it'll have to be calm conditions for me to really want to do that. A little left on that one, get one more try. That one a little right, okay, all good. All right, so now we're at hole 2, and this one actually I think has changed since the last time I did a video here. It used to be a little bit deeper and more to the right, about 340. Now it's basically just over 300 feet and kind of just barely to the right-hand side. But my shot pretty much remains the same on this hole. It's just now I actually maybe have a better chance to actually get within putting range, whereas before it was kind of just a tee shot and like be 60 feet away or so and just kind of lay up and take a 3. But now if I get like a good shot off, I might, have like a 40 to 30 footer or something like that. So I just try to play the forehand off to the left and just let it crash in. I mean, kind of a tight lane you have to get through without hitting these middle trees down there, but that's really the best shot for the hole. You could go backhand turn over too. So we'll try that real quick. I just got caught up, didn't quite fade out fast enough. One thing I've been kind of dealing with on my forehand lately is my footwork has just felt a bit off. Like I feel like I'm kind of walking up like too square, and I need to be a little bit more sideways so I can put my hips into the throw. And also just my release timing has been a little off. Like I've had a couple that just kind of leak out a little earlier than I want to. So I've really been trying to focus on like picking a target and really making sure I hit that target as I release the disc. So you might see some forehand issues this round as I'm kind of trying to work through something. Always down for comments down below if you have tips or anything. That was a more overstable disc. Like I said, the backhand turnover is there, but it's a little bit harder of a shot to achieve, a little more technical. I didn't quite turn that one over enough, but still up there, and definitely some easy threes to be had from where I'm at. All right, so luckily I didn't stay stuck in this bush. It actually slid out a little bit, so I actually have a way to kind of straddle out and throw a little bit of a forehand approach. Definitely if you turn over a forehand too hard left and don't get out, you can get stuck way deep in there, and then you're basically wasting a stroke just to get back to the fairway. So from here I can kind of try to work some magic. Forehand approaches have also been something I've been struggling with a little bit lately on my release timing. So see if we can get a clean one here. Not too shabby. Just kind of flew straighter than I thought it would. That's more like it. But yeah, either way, should be able to get the 3 from here. All right, so now we're at hole 3, and this is the first one that like I really feel like I can actually attack and try to score on. But I won't lie to you, it's kind of been giving me issues lately because essentially there's 2 options. You could either just go straight at it and just try to get kind of between the trees ahead of you and just throw something super dead straight that flies to the basket, or you can try to get into this wide open right lane and then have it fade in, which seems to set up for like maybe an overstable mid or maybe like a slower fairway driver that you kind of just flex over and then have it fight back out. But if you overdo it, then you can cook it right into this tree, like right here off the front right of the tee pad, and then you basically made no progress because it's just under 300 feet away. So I've actually just been kind of debating on what I want to do on this one. I've been kind of struggling with it lately. Yeah, I don't know. I used to just kind of flex like a fairway driver and have it fight out, but I've been struggling with that lately. So I might try to go at it, just kind of see. I don't know, that wasn't terrible. It's probably like circle 2. I mean, I'm not mad if I don't get this one, but it's just one of the ones you feel like you can get. Try the flex fairway driver. Nah, it's just too low. That was the right idea. That's it. That's the flex line option I'm really trying to achieve, but it's a tight window between that first front right tree and then the center one to try to like slide it into. So a little trickier than it appears on the surface. Definitely giving me some issues at times. All right, so this is where my first one went, the one where I went straight at it. It just kind of faded out a little earlier than I wanted to, so it winds up getting stuck in this corner, but no problem. There's still like a slight chance I can birdie it, but realistically, it's more just, you know, making sure I get my par. I really just want to make sure I don't get in there. As Matty O would say, that's Cambogia over there. Like, nothing's happening from in there. So that's why the flex line outside just feels the safest, because even if I mess it up, I'll still somewhere be out in the open to be able to get up and down for the 3. Whereas if I try to go straight at it and I miss and fade out early, I can get stuck in this corner and have nothing. So just kind of a judgment call. Oh, hit the basket. Yeah. Nice try. But again, the 3 on this hole isn't the end of the world. It's the first one I feel like I can score on, but it, you know, the other one I threw that actually went well is definitely circle 1, definitely birdieable. But yeah, this is definitely a hole I'm going to work on some more before the tournament, because it's just, I don't know, it's just eating me up a little bit. We'll figure it out. All right, so now we're at hole 4. This is your classic tunnel shot, kind of rolls slightly uphill the whole time, right at 300 feet. Literal, but probably plays a little bit longer than that due to the fact that it does roll up the hill. There's also a fence that is kind of placed, I would say, just outside the edge of circle 1 that you can sometimes get hung up on, or it can sometimes be like kind of an obstacle if you're like right up against it when you're trying to putt. But for the most part, you know, as long as you can stay center cut, you might have a chance to slide up, get yourself a birdie. Otherwise, just, you know, take your medicine, take your par. Really just want to make sure you don't get hung up too deep in the woods. If you're kind of shallow, either way, there's ways to scramble. But if you get about, let's say 15 feet in on either side, like with a bad tree kick, then you're probably wasting a stroke just getting back to the fairway. So really, for me, it's about, you know, just trying to be slow and smooth and just kind of, you know, make sure I get something center cut. I think I'm right underneath that fence I was talking about, so probably a little bit of a tricky putt. All right, so my S-Line FD got just before the fence, so I'm probably like 40, 50 feet away from the basket. Same thing happened with my Saint. It was just over a little bit more left, but basically the same distance. So again, gives me a chance. Ideally, I'd love to get on the other side of this fence to get myself a circle one putt. So if I can slide under it or fly over it, you know, that would be ideal. But again, I'm not like too upset with the 3 on this hole, but it is one of the holes that definitely is a little bit more attackable. Just over the top. Nearly. All good. All right, so this is hole 5. This is kind of my least favorite hole on the course, mostly because I just feel like it really comes down to chance sometimes on what happens to you on this hole. It's only about 240 feet, but it slants like really far down left hill into the woods there. And essentially your main goal is just to beat the second tree on the left of the fairway. So, you know, get past the first big one, get past that little small one in the middle. And if you can get just past that and then start coming down the hill, you can usually skip up somewhere in circle 1. Really, you just want to make sure you don't push it too deep. So if you push it to like the 3rd tree or to that post in the center, that post in the center is kind of equal to pin high, maybe a little bit further forward. So definitely want to not push anything too straight. So basically I just try to throw something overstable and just try to get it past the 2nd tree, keep it low, and play what I like to call a root roulette, and just hope that I don't catch a root. It's really all you can do. I mean, as things go, that's a pretty good result. It might have skipped too much, actually. Actually bounced off the root and trampolined like a good bit there. So yeah, it turns out that my disc is totally fine. I'm like 10 feet from the basket. There are some chances to skip a little too much and get caught up in this stuff down here, which would obstruct your putt. Or if you get really crazy, you can maybe make it to the water. That usually requires you to throw something faster, like a fairway driver. And that's why I recommend something low speed here. Try to avoid getting like too much ground action. That'll work. All right, so now we're at hole 6, water carry hole. Sometimes it plays as an island with like an actual OB line surrounding it, but for this tournament it won't be that way. You just got to make sure you're not surrounded by water. So this hole is just really wind dependent on what I'll throw. Right now it's pretty calm, so I can kind of throw whatever I want. Usually I like to throw something slightly overstable, kind of aim for that right tree and just let it hyzer into the gap, as opposed to just going straight at it. Which sometimes I'll go straight at it for fun with like a less stable disc like my Proxy, but this is a Glow Envy, so I'm just gonna try to hit it nice, just have it hyzer in. That's literally the play. I mean, that's all I'm really looking for on this hole. All right, so now we're on hole 7. There is a T-pad we do play sometimes. It's like more behind me and up the hill, and it plays as a par 4, and it's like a little over 500 feet, maybe like 550 or so. But for the tournament, they want us using the cement T-pads, which means we're playing kind of the normal hole 7, which is basically about 450 feet uphill. The basket's kind of to the right of this cluster of trees in the center of the fairway. This is basically an impossible birdie. Mostly, I mean, not even pros really birdie it very often, so it's about kind of understanding that, not trying to do too much, and just make sure I put myself in a good position to get up and down for a 3. And so really the only things I'm trying to avoid is overturning something way to the right, like something too understable, and like putting myself down the hill and out of position to approach the basket. So I'll either throw something neutral and just kind of try to throw kind of a dead straight shot that just kind of settles left. I'd prefer being left because it sets up the forehand up shot, but even if I'm to the right of the center, it's not a big deal. I can throw a backhand up shot from there. But if you're in the center, then it can get a little bit tricky with those trees. So I'm just gonna throw a couple here. Again, I'm not trying to do too crazy, maybe get like, you know, 300 feet or something like that and go from there. Yep, that's literally perfect. Right in that left lane. Sets up the forehand up shot. Throw one more for fun. Something a little more understable on highs there. That's basically the same spot, maybe a little further forward. So that's all I really need here. All right, so here I am. Like I said, as long as you're just in a lane, whether it's this lane or that lane over there, you're kind of an easy up and down, hopefully, to grab yourself your 3. Definitely don't want to go too far left, get stuck in these woods, and it can get tricky. And the rough over to the right, obviously, also can be very tricky. So we're in a good spot. Every now and then I can push it a little bit further forward to like the center tree, but this is totally fine for me. That should be pretty much a tap in. Again, I've been kind of struggling with my up shots with the forehand where I kind of leak it out early. So I've really been trying to focus on being a little bit more sideways with the back foot, that I can kind of come through and really hit that point. You know what I mean? It's working out. That skipped up there nicely too. That should be circle 1. So yeah, hopefully I can just kind of keep working on that, smooth that out, get it right, and have it for the tournament. Practice from this one a little bit. All right, so now we're at hole 8. I'm not exactly sure the distance on this, but it is a par 4. It probably plays like 550-ish, I think. I know from the tee pad to that light pole in the dead center of the fairway is about 315 feet. So you need to throw at least about that much to make sure you actually get to the next fairway. If not, if you're in the road or any cement, you're obviously out of bounds. You can, if you want, lay up on the right-hand side in this like kind of grass patch area over here next to these trees. If you're like just not feeling confident that you can cross on the tee shot. But basically that means you're selling it for par. But if it's windy or something like that, it's not a bad option. And even for me, depending on how I'm feeling, I may not want to go for it. So. Well, I kind of skipped off the road, so not exactly what I wanted, but I did make it. So, yeah. But like I said, you can definitely, you know, throw like a backhand or a forehand and just lay up onto the corner before the road and play it from there if you want to play safe for a 4. Which, again, if it's like a strong headwind where I don't feel I can quite get it there, then I definitely will sometimes occasionally throw an overstable fairway driver on the forehand, try to get it around these 2 trees on the right, get into some open space, and then play the hole that way. But I'm not going to practice that today because, well, that guy might run over my disc and it might be gone too. So let's move on. All right, so it's going to be kind of tough at the grass cutting, but kind of tricky footing unless you can get up to the flat. So that's like really the only issue. You really kind of want to throw it more like 330, 340, or even further, but at least like 340 to kind of get on the flat to have good footing. Then that gives you like a 250 foot up shot or so. But for me, I have like a 275 foot up shot because I just barely cleared. So yeah, gonna be a tough with the uphill walk up. Yeah, that's up there. That's gonna be a par. It's too far for the putt. I mean, it's just really tricky footing to like walk up the hill and still get like a good plant and follow through. So really got to get up on that flat area, give yourself like a mid-range or a putter into the green, give yourself a good chance for birdie, but at least I get the par, so not too shabby. Okay, so we're at hole 9. It's about 360 feet. Basket's kind of down to the right. Some people will try to throw through the gap between these trees, but it's so wide open on this left side that it plays really well for like a forehand for a right-handed player, or a lefty backhand, or maybe a big backhand turnover. Just kind of whatever you're best at. So I'm probably gonna throw a forehand, maybe try the backhand roller. I don't really trust the roller in a tournament for real, but like I said, my forehand's been kind of screwy lately, so see if we can try to get a good one. Yeah, I mean, I just took that up way left. It's not bad. I can still get up and down from there for a 3, but not really what I'm looking for. Like I said, the forehand's been a struggle lately. There we go, that's more like it. Something a little more overstable, I can just flex. Try a backhand roller for fun. It rolled up there pretty good, actually. Might have been hard for you to film, but it's up there.
I think I caught it.
All right, we'll show them either way, the end result. So here's where my main forehand play landed. You know, it's probably like 80, 90 feet short of the basket. It's a pretty easy little up shot just to get myself a 3, which is all I'm really looking for on this hole. It's pretty hard to get a forehand for me, 360 feet to like get myself in circle 1, especially because I have to play wide. So that increases the distance I have to cover. Every now and then I can get myself in circle 2 with the forehand, like maybe up near that sewer cap or something like that, but it's really not one I'm concerned with scoring on. The backhand roller, though, actually made it to the other side of these trees. That's actually maybe like edge of circle 2 putt. So maybe if I'm feeling aggressive, I might give it a roller and see if I can make it happen. But for the most part, just put myself in position to get a par is all I really care about. So it's just that little shoot thing that grew up right there.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, you really should be higher than that coming out the tunnel anyway, but it is still a little annoying, I guess. That's more my speed. Sweet. All right, man. Yep. That's all I need. Sweet. All right, so I'll probably do some post-production VO on the first 2 shots because there was a gentleman with us that was practicing as well, so I didn't want to disturb him. But basically, this is that 620-foot par 4, and tee shot was great. All you want to do is get out the gap and get out into the open. Obviously, if you're a more elite player, you can get even more forward distance and really set yourself up to swing for a birdie. Really, for me, realistically, unless I get like a monster tee shot that gets way forward, I'm not really looking to birdie the hole. I'm just looking to stay in the fairway and not, you know, overturn it right into the woods or wind up in one of these piles of trees or wind up in the parking lot out of bounds. And so my second shot, hopefully I can kind of land somewhere near the sewer cap ideally, but even right here is totally fine. I should be able to get up and down for at least a par as long as I throw like a good up shot. So yeah, we'll see. So now we're on hole 12, par 3. You're just trying to get over this little, what's it called, a berm? Is that a term? Is that a word?
I don't know.
Berm? Like miniature hill thing?
It's a hill. I don't know.
It's like some mounds, basically. You just gotta try to get it over that. But for me, it's even if I don't make it over the mounds, if I can just be like on them, I still have a reasonable putt for birdie. It's kind of tough for me. Like, you have to hit a pretty tight gap off the tee and still get distance. So you want to be controlled, but you also want to get distance. So I kind of just throw like a fairway driver, like an Explorer, just 7-speed. I try to hit this right-hand gap and then swing it left as opposed to trying to go straight for it up the middle. I think the right gap's a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to hit, although it is a little bit further away. But it's just kind of my personal preference. I kind of just aim into the distance. What's like the one tree that has sunlight on it, like head straight ahead on this right gap. I don't know if you can, if it looks like that to you, it looks like it to me.
Yeah.
So I kind of aim for that tree and just try to punch one nice and smooth through the gap, and at that point, whatever happens, happens. That's not how I meant to go through the gap, but that's ridiculous. I like went a little bit too right and like kissed the tree right before the gap, but still wound up flying through it. That doesn't feel good, but it was a good result. Try one more. There we go. That's more what I'm looking for. That one just kind of slid on the side of the hill, so still didn't quite make it over. Oh well, let's go. This is a fun putt. Got these little bushes in front of me. See if we can't still fit one over.
Oh, you hit the pole.
The pole?
Yeah.
So, need something a little higher.
Oh, you hit the top.
Well, so somewhere in the middle of those two, ideally, would be what I would do, I guess. But I'm not too mad at a par on this hole, honestly. It's a little tricky with the gap that you have to hit off the tee. So it's not like a guarantee for any means for like AMs. But obviously, if you're a pro level player, you're looking to get this one all the time. All right, so now we're at hole 12. It's just under 340 feet. Kind of a tunnel shot. You have to kind of go straight at it. And then it's a little bit to the left. Kind of up there, like on the back side of that stop sign you see up the road. There are people who will throw something through this gap here, like between these two trees up high in the sky, and try to crash it in left. But that requires a good bit amount of power, like maybe 400 feet of power just under that to be able to achieve like a, you know, spike hyzer that would actually make it all the way to the green. So I don't try to do any of that crazy business. I just try to throw something nice and straight, try to stay in this tunnel. If you break off left too much, it's very hard to scramble to get your par, especially if you get caught up early. The more right you are, I think the more open it is and the easier it is to get up and down for your three. But ideally, you just want to try to throw something as straight as you can. So that's really all I'm trying to do. Every now and then I can get some good ground action and like get myself to circle 2 on this hole. I've gotten to circle 1 a couple of times, very luckily, but not really something I'm trying to like attack too hard. Like that's pretty ideal for me. It actually kicks back out into the lane, so that's actually even better. Now I can actually just throw like a nice, you know, up shot to get a 2 or a 3 rather. Here's where I landed off the tee. It's an easy pitch up for a 3. If I would have had a little more height on it, I might have been able to skip up left into circle 2 like I was talking about earlier. But this is no problem for me. Take that all day long. If, you know, before the tournament they told me I could put my disc right there, it'd be perfect for me. So we like it. This is actually a temp hole that we have between holes 12 and 13 on the course to kind of help the transition, because 13 is pretty far from 12, but it's also used in tournament play. There's no basket set up right now, but basically it's dead straight ahead. I don't know if you can like look straight through this tunnel, but like there's like this little skinny curvy tree that's like the sunlight's kind of hitting. Little skinny tree, dead center.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So the basket will be kind of just in front of that. Basically the parking lot, like rocky stuff over here, plays its OB, sidewalk right plays its OB, so obviously the road's also OB. Kind of a double island too, because there's like a little path leading to the parking lot from the main road that you have to cross to get to like the second island, or you need to lay up short of it. It is a very, very tricky hole to navigate, especially if it's windy, because you basically have to hit a very tight gap with the backhand dead straight ahead of you and avoid like this bushy tree in the center. Like usually you want to kind of go to the right of it and then hyzer in, or you could throw a forehand out over the parking lot and then try to skip it over the rocks. But again, that's really risky if it's windy. So this for me will be like a game day decision on if I want to throw backhand or forehand. If it's calm, I like the forehand a lot, because I can just try to keep it, you know, I don't have to even throw it that far. I just have to get it past the little parking lot road and then let it hyzer in to the, you know, area and pitch up for a 3. You're not gonna see too many birdies here, I promise you that. It's a tricky backhand though, very, very tricky backhand. Usually I can hit the gap, but a lot of the times I struggle with getting the disc to come back left. after I hit the gap. So that's really the trick here. On hole 13, it's a longer par 4. Don't know the exact distance, but it's a pretty good ways down there. It's definitely like a true two-shot hole to get up and down for birdie. Really, ideally, you just want to play something as up the slope as you can, but obviously not too far right to get OB into the road. That gives you the most options to approach the green, which I'll show you later. You could theoretically play more left, as long as you don't get in the woods left. If you're in the woods left, then, as Matty would say, again, that's Cambogia over there, like, you're donezo. But if you can stay out of the woods on the left, you can get flat ground. There still are ways to approach the green, it's just harder. So yeah, personally, I usually try to throw a forehand kind of out left and try to have it crash towards the slope and try to give myself like good footing on top of the hill. But you can also throw a backhand. It's harder to throw the backhand like I would like to, because I kind of would just throw it like straight over the top of these trees, have it turn and then fade back. But now these trees have kind of started to bloom and grow up, there's not as much airspace to really fit that in. So I try to stay skinny on this left side. Just pop a forehand out there. So yeah, something like that's not too shabby. There's a couple of different options from there. But like I said, you can also fit a backhand and try to be more left. Just hard because this tee pad kind of slopes down to the left, so it makes your footing a little bit tough for a backhand, but. So yeah, something like that also works. There's stuff to do down there on the left. Let's show you. All right, so the further up the hill you are from the tee pad, the more you can just kind of throw something over the road and throw it around this corner. You can kind of see the corner of the leaning trees to the right, or the trees are leaning right on the left side of the road. So you can kind of just throw around the corner over the top of the road. But there's also a gap kind of left of the corner that you can also throw through, which I'll show you here in a second. Yeah, so basically if you're like here, you could still choose to go around the corner like dead straight ahead, but there is also a little hole in the corner that you could try to go through. You can kind of see the little white pole sticking out through the hole. Mm-hmm. You can kind of just swing something through that gap. It's usually a little bit easier if you're closer to the wood line, because then you don't have like these little small trees in your way, but it still can be done. It really just comes down to placement. It's really hard to think of like a true ideal landing zone on this hole, but if there is one, it probably is just further up the hill, so you can just have an easier shot just going all the way around the corner. But that requires a lot of distance to still be able to get up and down for birdie. But again, I'm not really too worried about birdie in this hole. If I do, cool, but if not, I'll take my 4 and get out of here. So I'm actually gonna try to throw a shot that pushes past these 3 small trees to the right of them, and then eventually hyzers into that hole to giving an upshot to the basket, because I don't think I'm gonna make it around the corner from here. And I think this is new. I don't believe, well, it's not new, but it wasn't on a previous video I did here, I don't think. This is fairly recent that this got done. Or I am just gonna do that, I guess. So yeah, the first one I threw, got around the corner nice and easy the way I want. Gives me an easy upshot for my par. Like I said, this is not really one I'm really able to attack for birdie unless I'm like in the perfect position on the fairway, try to go through the gap. Or if I'm like way up on the hillside, I have a little bit more room to work a shot in with some height. But again, a tricky hole, but it's pretty fun. I do think this hole will be interesting as time goes on. These trees grow up more. I think it's going to be, you know, a little bit tougher to play, but for right now, I used to not like it too much, but at this point, I'm starting to come around. So maybe that'll make Matt Gibbons happy. Maybe he doesn't care. Probably doesn't care. So now we're at hole 14, same as it's always been, about 295, slightly downhill. Forehand over the water, or you can try to go more straight out with the backhand, but just make sure you don't fade out, otherwise you'll wind up in the drink. There we go. That's more like it. Yep, that's probably about 20, 25 feet away. Gives me a good chance for putting for birdie. So that's it. Actually less than I thought. I was only like 15 feet away, so sweet. All right, so now we're at hole 15. It's a par 4. It's not too long though. It's only like 440-ish or so. Really the only goal is just to stay in the fairway and not be in the woods right and not be OB in the road left. If you can accomplish that mission, then you can chip your way up and down for a par pretty easily. If you can push 2 good shots, though, you have a chance at birdie. It really sets up better for a forehand, but you definitely can just throw a straight backhand up the middle. Sometimes people try to go crazy and get aggressive and throw a roller and try to get an eagle, but I won't be doing those things. Pretty much exactly what I want. Just somewhere kind of center cut. Give myself an easy chance. Get up and down. Backhand also works. I'm a little timid on throwing a backhand here because if you get it just a little off, it will fade left and inevitably bounce out of bounds. So the forehand kind of lets me play away from the out of bounds as long as I don't overturn it. But again, just whatever you can throw straight, stay on the fairway, will help you out. The only bad thing about being up the slope and why the backhand sometimes can be better because it will have a likely to filter downward, like you'll usually have better footing. If you throw a forehand that's a little too straight or it gets a little too hyzered, it could definitely wind up on the slope or in these woods, and then it's a trickier upshot. But even still, worst case scenario, you should be able to get your par since it's a par 4. I mean, you only really have to throw like maybe another 150 to 200 feet to set yourself up for the par approach. But if you want to try to get a little bit more aggressive, you can try to, throw something faster that can get further forward and try to skip up the hill or whatever. So, up to you. Yeah, flex that one a little too much, but that is a very easy up and down for par, so not worried. But yeah, like I said, down here, a little bit better footing. You can actually see the slope to the green a little bit better. It sets up an easier forehand, so just up to you. All right, so now we're at hole 16. It's about 400 feet. It's a par 3. More difficult, in my opinion, than the previous hole, and it's a par 3, so it's really, really tough. It's like almost borderline not scoreable. I won't say it's completely not scoreable because someone with a really good forehand could fit one over the road and then have it like skip back in or something like that and have a chance. Or if you throw like a backhand turnover and it stables out at the end of its flight and kind of just flattens out and rides forward, like a good like flip up fairway driver or something like that, you could reasonably get up there if you have the arm speed. But for me in most AMs, it's more about just trying to hit this gap off the tee, stay out of the road, keep yourself kind of center cut of the fairway, and try to get up and down for your 3. I mean, that's really the main goal. And so for me, usually just a forehand, but again, my forehand's been a little off lately, but we'll see. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. Like I said, I've been having this early release problem where it's just not feeling good. That's better. That's more what I'm looking for. So my first drive got cut up really early, as you saw, so that was bogey at best, probably. I left it in though because I want to hold myself accountable to like what I'm doing wrong there and like look at it. I'm gonna hopefully be able to watch it myself and see what's going wrong and why I'm releasing my forehands early. But maybe somebody in the comments can help me out too, because that's just been a constant issue I've been running into recently. But my second forehand that I threw well put me in a good position. Usually if I throw really well, I can get up to the sewer cap and then it's like a pretty easy up and down. But even from right here, pretty reasonable backhand or forehand approach shot should get me a chance to putt. So that's really all you're looking for. Yep. All right, and then at the end of it all, you're greeted with this monstrosity, which I'm told eventually will come down, but it's still up for now, the hanging basket of Mobile. Very controversial topic, but it is what it is.
Yay!
I don't always make those, I'll be honest with you. That's a tough putt. I'd like to be closer to the railroad ties, but the thing is you don't want to be too close, because then if you get like right up against this one, then you have like this weird kind of awkward angle that you're like kind of putting up to, and it can be a little tricky. It kind of forces people to like maybe turbo putt or do a little Calvin Heimberg basketball putt or something like that, but not too shabby.
Okay.
All right, so now we're at hole 17. It's about 260. I have her filming from up there so you can kind of see the baskets. Just basically a tunnel shot. I don't know how that was. Left?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is actually an OB line on the left-hand side of the fairway that sometimes gets used and sometimes it doesn't. Which I think for this tournament it will be used, so I need to really make sure that I keep a disc more right. The miss is definitely more on the right-hand side. So something like that's a lot better. That should be good, yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, just gotta make sure I stay away from that line. Second shot was good though. Definitely the miss is to be more right into the hillside. But sometimes that line's not there and it's fine to play something left as long as you get the distance. You can still putt for birdie, but all good. Just gotta make that adjustment tournament day. All right, so now we're on hole 18, and this is shorter than it was in the past. It's only about 240 feet now. It used to be like 260. They moved it more away from that workout equipment just for like safety reasons, people who use it. And really this hole has like three main options. You can either go straight up the middle, you can go wide right and skip up, or you can go wide left and skip right. So it's kind of whatever you think is best for you. Usually I throw forehand and skip up, but again, the forehand's been kind of touchy lately, but we'll give it a shot, see what I can do here. Yep, that's fine. That's probably like 25, 30 feet. Then the other line you can do to wrap us up here, besides going straight at it, is this right gap and skip up. So we'll see if I can hit this. This one's a little skinny though. Nope, I got it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't quite catch the angle right, so it actually wound up bouncing more up than forward. So that was actually kind of short, but that kind of gives you an idea. All right, folks, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please follow and subscribe, like, comment, all that fun stuff. Like I said, I'm definitely still working through a couple things with my forehand game I need to patch up, and still could use a little bit more practice on a few specific holes I'm still having some trouble with here. But other than that, I'm just hoping to, do pretty well at Smackdown. It's one of those things where I won that tournament at the end of last year, but then I kind of had a low where my first couple of tournaments this year didn't go very well, and I kind of started to slip on my mental game. And so I've really been trying to focus back on the mental game again, and just get back to staying positive, letting stuff go, moving on, just trying to live by those principles that you're supposed to stay focused and stay upbeat. So it's kind of like a reset almost, this tournament coming up, to try to test myself and try to test my mental game. That's actually my only goal this next tournament, the Smackdown, is to, I want to play well, but I really just want to focus more on keeping my head right and making sure that I'm not like freaking out and embarrassing myself and looking like a fool by getting all ragey and stuff like that. So really just want to focus on, again, being positive, having a good time. This is indeed a hobby at the end of the day. And yeah, so look out for that footage. That'll come out, sometime after this. And yep, see you next time.